So this video we're going to be looking at how to get the most out of your training and how to prevent injuries. So we're going to look at the slides and I want you to just see if you can spot what the hazard is, and we'll just go through it dead quick. So I'll give you 5 seconds on each one. So hopefully you can spot the hazard there. Can you play football on this pitch? No. Why not? Well, look how flooded it is. It's not safe, you can't see what's under the water, and you won't be able to kick a football on there. So that's that hazard. Next one. Yep, super easy. The bench is the wrong way around. It's dangerous. Someone might try and sit on it and fall off. Someone might trip on it. It's just not great, is it? Next one. Yeah, their left shoe is untied. If they're trying to play sport in the playground or anything like this and they step on one of the shoelaces and trip themselves up, they could injure themselves. So this one's maybe a little bit trickier, but the hazard itself is the fact they're already injured. So you want to keep them away from any sport so they don't make the injury worse. This one's obviously pretty obvious. Sorry, that's an awful phrase, isn't it? Lots of broken glass, so you wouldn't want to do any sport here in case you stepped on it, tripped on it. You might suffer some cuts and grazes, some abrasions. Obviously very dangerous. So this one, he's lifted some weights and he's either got it wrong or the kit's not worked very well. So he's probably got poor technique, which has led to him injuring himself. He's probably hurt his neck and shoulders here, being crushed by all that weight. And his weight plates also aren't attached, they're falling off. They should be clipped in. So this one, the goalkeeper, hasn't actually got any gloves on his hands. So he might hurt his hands trying to stop the ball, might dislocate or break a finger, or hurt his wrists. He's got no padding or protection. This one, you've probably noticed this player's got no helmet on, but all the other players have got helmets on, so he's not wearing the correct protective equipment, so he's at risk of injury. If someone else runs into him and their helmet bashes with his head, he could suffer cuts and grazes, abrasions, he might suffer concussion. So that's the hazard there. So what's this footballer missing? He's not wearing his shin pad, so he could suffer an injury because there's nothing protecting his shins. So like we looked at the first picture, it was the waterlogged flooded pitch. So what's the potential injury? They could sprain their ankle or fracture as a result of falling over or slipping. So how would you prevent this from happening? You would have to suspend play and cancel the match. Okay. So this is what we're going to look at. The PAR-Q, warm up and cool down, checking equipment and facilities, correct clothing and playing within the rules. So what is a PAR-Q? A PAR-Q stands for Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. Bit of a mouthful. And before you start an exercise program, you must ensure you're ready to do so. And this PAR-Q, this questionnaire, will check if you're ready to start or not. So it's a common method of uncovering health and lifestyle issues prior to an exercise program starting. So basically it's a common method of finding out if you've got any health or lifestyle issues before you start an exercise program. It's a very short and easy questionnaire to use, and it reveals any family history of illness. If it reveals an issue, you're advised to seek a doctor's opinion, get some doctor's advice through a GP referral, which just means you get referred to your GP. And the GP will see if you should or shouldn't be taking part in the exercise program. Now it's a bit small, but on the bottom left you can see an example of a PAR-Q, a Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. And these are some of the questions. Has your doctor ever said you have a heart condition and that you should only do physical activity recommended by a doctor? Do you feel pain in your chest when you do physical activity? In the past month, have you had chest pains when you were not doing physical activity? Etc, etc. So it sifts through any health issues just to check you're okay to start an exercise program. And if there's any issues, they can refer you to the doctor and he can check and advise you on what to do. So that was one way of preventing injury. Obviously, if they found something, they were found an illness or an issue, and they let you do that exercise, you might injure yourself or struggle with illness, whereas a doctor might be able to say, actually, you can't do that and prevent you getting injured. And warm up and cool down are also important to prevent injury and get the most out of your exercise. So why do we warm up? We warm the muscles up, which helps prevent injury. So we pump the blood to the muscles when we start warming up, and this warms them up. Stretching will help you prevent pulling a muscle or suffering from an injury, and it increases your heart rate. So warm-up's essential to get the body ready for exercise. So you're not just being sprung into exercise and your body's surprised, it gets ready and warmed up. And then why do we cool down? Well, we cool down to prevent soreness and aches, so to prevent any pain really, because cooling down gets rid of the lactic acid, the toxic acid that builds up when we exercise. So this is what you'll see in a warm-up. All of these things will increase gradually. Your body temperature, your muscle temperature, your flexibility of muscles and joints, your pliability of ligaments and tendons, which is just how much they can stretch essentially, the speed of your muscle contraction, your heart rate, the blood flow to working muscles, and the oxygen to working muscles. Obviously, if you don't warm up, your muscles and joints might not be as flexible, there might be less pliability in your ligaments and tendons. So if you suddenly lunged or jumped, you might pull or hurt a muscle or tendon or ligament or joint because they're not as flexible or pliable. And then with a cool down, as you cool down, some things will reduce, like the risk of muscle soreness and stiffness, your heart rate, breathing rate and temperature. Some things will stay the same, so the circulation of blood and oxygen and the normal length of your muscle, and some things will go up, so removal of waste products including lactic acid. So the more lactic acid we remove, the less cramps we're going to feel and less sore we're going to feel. So another really important thing to do to prevent injury and to get the most out of your sport is to check equipment and facilities. So someone must check that facilities are safe and equipment is in good condition. Who do you think that might be? Well, at school, it's down to us as teachers. Us PE teachers need to check the equipment's in good condition, and we actually get a company in to check all our equipment every year, and we will check it regularly. If you play for a club, your coach might check it. So there will be someone responsible to check that the facilities are safe and equipment's in good condition. In a football match, the referee will go and check the goal nets and the pitch to check it's safe to play. Same in football. And most officials in most sports will have a role of checking the equipment and facilities. So before we take part in any sport or physical activity, we need to check all the equipment we're going to use is in good working order and check the facility is safe to use. So we spoke about the wet football pitch earlier. So you might check the facility. The football pitch is dry, it's safe, it's not too wet. You'll check there's nothing on the pitch, like we looked at the broken glass, rubbish, anything like that. You might check there's no big potholes, no big divots in the ground. Check the nets and posts are secure. In cricket, so the wicket is what you bowl the ball along. You'll check that wicket's good so no one's going to trip and hurt themselves. It's not too wet so no one's going to slip. You'll check your equipment like your helmets and your pads, are they secure? Or any straps broke? On the front of a cricket helmet, I should have put a photo in, but there's a grill and then a hard bit on the top. You'd check that the grill isn't loose or anything like that. What about in badminton? You'd have to check the court's dry. You don't want to be slipping. Check the surface is okay and the nets are properly put up. You might have tried to put up a badminton net before, and if you pull the post too far, they start to lean and they might tip over. So you've got to check they're properly put up and properly secure, because obviously if they fall over, they might injure someone. So it's all about checking equipment and facilities, and this will help prevent any injuries happening. So we also have protective equipment and clothing that we wear and use to avoid injuries. It might vary depending on what position you play in that sport. For example, in cricket, if you're batting at the time in the game, you're going to be wearing batting gloves to protect your fingers, knuckles and hands. The batsmen will wear leg pads to protect their shins and knees. They'll wear a helmet to protect their head. You can even wear chest guards and elbow guards. You can get lots of padding as a cricketer, but if you're a fielder, you won't really have any protective gear on. In hockey, I play hockey, and the only protective gear I wear is shin pads to protect my shins from the ball hitting them, and a gum shield to protect my teeth. But the goalkeeper in my team, he wears lots of kit. He wears a helmet, he wears leg pads, arm pads, he wears pads on his feet, he has special shoes over his chest. He has stuff to protect his privates, and it actually takes him around 20 minutes before every game just to put his kit on. Because obviously the ball in hockey is rock hard, it's really solid. And in ice hockey, the one they play inside an arena on the ice, they wear lots of padding because obviously they might fall on the ice. You want to remove any jewellery if you can, and if not, it needs to be taped over. You don't want to get it caught. And you can't wear any clothing that could injure an opponent. So this is why jewellery might be removed, like a big clunky metal watch. If you're playing football and you've got a big metal watch on and you go to shoulder barge someone on your arm slips, you might hit them in the face. So you can't wear anything that might injure either a teammate or opponent, another player. So look, there's something a footballer might wear. The boots to keep their feet nice and safe. Shin pads to keep their legs safe. Goalkeeper gloves if you're the goalie. And there's some of the cricketers. So you can see I was talking about the cricketer's helmet with the grill, the top bit, the black bit, and then there's a sort of grey silver bit that goes over the nose and mouth. Playing to the rules is also another way to prevent injury. The rules are made not just to allow good competition, but to make sure safety is ensured. So how would you make a competition safe, and what are the rules? What are some examples of rules that ensure safety? Well, in boxing we have weight categories. So you have super lightweight, super featherweight, lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight. So someone like Carl Froch, I think he was a lightweight, he weighed about 60 kilograms, couldn't fight someone like Tyson Fury, who weighs way more than him and is a heavyweight. And that's the rules to ensure safety, because Tyson Fury is huge and he would probably beat up Carl Froch and really hurt him if they were allowed to have a fight. So there might be mixed or single sex competition. You wouldn't really see or want a female boxer to box a male boxer, due to men tend to be stronger, not all the time, and hit harder. So for safety, they can't fight each other. Age categories. When I was 9 years old, I played for under 9s at football. I couldn't go and play against my older cousin who was in under 18s because he was much older, he was much bigger. I'd be at risk of injury playing someone that big. Then things like in cricket, there's a rule. So the bowler, so the person who bowls the ball at the batsman, they must bounce the ball on the wicket on the pitch before it reaches the batsman, or bowl it below their waist high. That's to stop the bowler throwing it at basically the batsman's head, because that would be really dangerous and could lead to an injury.